Hello, everyone. This is Shelley Dressel. Tonight, I'm channeling the universal light beings. Boy, oh boy, are we in an exciting time. Whoop, whoop, whoop. I think there is so much that is happening now, and I can't believe it's been 2 weeks. For those of you that are new to me, thank you. Well, for those of you that have been here, thank you. Everyone, thank you. Anyway, I've been channeling for a very, very long time, and what tonight is about the universal light beings. Albayon is from Arcturus, Brysentia is from the Pleiades, and then Crystallia is from the Omniverse. They have come together. They've been working with me for over 5 years now, maybe as much as 9 years, and they're working with me and society and humanity in order to create the balance that we've been needing, helping to clear out what needed to be cleared out and ascending to the higher vibration and frequency. So there is a lot that is going on, and it's very exciting. Now, I stream this on Rumble, YouTube, and Facebook. I see Rumble and Facebook here. I don't know why. Anyway, it's saying that comments don't post to all sites. I don't know what they're talking about with that. So let me write something in here, and y'all can tell me if you see it or not. I see it. So anyway, but this is just a very, very exciting time, and the 3i Atlas, of course, has been a big topic of discussion. I think I got 3 or 4 questions about that and comments. And I did, I put them separate. I didn't put them in any one particular person. So you might hear that brought up by all 3 of them tonight, because there's just so much information. There's so much that's going on about that. And they all have something a little bit different to say. I did do a mini about a week ago, and when I sent out the newsletter today, it did have the link in there. Again, posted it on Facebook, Rumble, and YouTube. And then usually I'll put the link from YouTube onto X and LinkedIn. So my stuff is out there in a lot of different places, but please feel free to share it, and let's get this information out, because this is just such an exciting time. Okay, now I have been, I ask everyone to kind of send me the questions early, and this way I can organize things, and I'm not having to come out a channel to read a lot to come in here. Since I have it all here and organized, it just makes it a little easier, and that's been working out pretty well for me. From what I hear, it seems to be working out from those that have made comments about it. It seems to be okay with them too, so good. I'm glad to hear that. And some of the questions are similar to what they've been before. This time I really got a lot of questions, and I'm trying to answer as many of them as I can. Some of them might end up with short answers. Some might end up with longer answers. I don't know, but I do the best I can, and we see what happens. So Oregon, I saw Denmark, California. People are Australia. Oh, Maggie, hello. So people come from all over the world, and this is an organization of humanity, of worldwide humanity. In fact, there were a couple of things talking about that for Crystallia in particular. So I think it's going to be interesting to see what they have to say. I was a couple minutes late getting in here tonight. I apologize for that. It was because the program was acting up. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. So I just had to X out and come back in, and now it seems to be working just fine. Wisconsin, great. Glad to have you. So I'm just going to jump in. I don't really have any other messages to say. I'm just going to get going, because we're all here to hear the channeling and see what they have to say. Okay. Brysentia's first tonight. Greetings, it is I, Brysentia. This group of people that I work with is just a fabulous group. It is very, very expansive. I know that when people look at numbers and things like that, they think, gee whiz, she should have more followers, or there should be more people involved in this. And indeed, there are more followers than people that are listed. And the other thing that is so important to understand with all these changes that are taking place is exactly how much you don't even have to be in here typing and doing stuff. All it is having a group of people that come together with a clear intention. We want information about what's happening. We want to be in the highest vibrational frequency in anything that's going on. And we want to support not only the planet, but the universe in all that is taking place. Well, that's really all you need. And then that puts all that energy up into that part of the collective consciousness. So it's I think one of the things that you're going to hear a lot more of in the days and weeks to come is the importance of people being a part of a community. Everybody, for so long, people have been kind of by themselves, or have felt isolated, or felt like they didn't have anyone else that they could really communicate with. But more and more and more people are going to begin to find their home or their community, or, you know, whatever it is that you want to call it. And in doing so, you can start communicating with one another. And you are also going to find that your intuitive gifts are going to be ratcheted up or ramped up. And when your intuitive gifts are much more open and a part of your everyday life, you will begin to notice, even in the people around you, oh, I didn't notice that person before. Let me go talk to them and just say hello. So little simple things like that may happen. And in doing so, it creates a network. You know, you're manifesting your network in the physical. So things are going to happen energetically. They're going to happen physically. And then they're going to happen in all the different levels or dimensions. Okay, so that was one of the first things I wanted to talk about. The next thing that I think is really important is to be aware of the changes in the earth. There have been, like, as I'm looking at it, I feel as if there have been like a dozen or so instances of things that happen in the weather, or things that are happening in different countries around the planet. And the reason that I'm bringing this up is that some of this is coming from Gaia. There are those people that have talked about for so very long the HARP and the different mechanisms, the directed energy weapons, the different things that have been used by the nefarious ones in order to manipulate weather, to manipulate people, to manipulate incidences that are happening on the earth plane. And yes, that's a truth. Check. So what is going on now is that there is less and less and less of the weather manipulation that is happening. There are times when things are happening for the betterment of people. For example, the naturally occurring hurricanes and things that might be out in the ocean that could come into the side of the country, they're being pushed out to the ocean. That is done through the energy work that you guys are doing, and some of it is done through the work of these people that in the past were manned by the nefarious, but now are not manned by the nefarious, but instead are manned by people that are here for the betterment of all. And that leads to my next question or statement that I wanted to talk about. There was a small little discussion on Facebook about how do you know who to believe? How do you know what's real? When you have so many different people that are saying things, and you may have 10 different people talking about, say, these people are good, these people are bad, and that same exact person is said by different people to be, some say good, some say bad. This is coming a time when your discernment becomes more and more and more important in everything that you are doing. And when I speak about your discernment, what that means is most of you that are part of this group have been doing research, you've been reading, you've been listening, you've been talking, you've been very aware of what is going on in your world in the form of disclosure and what needs to come out, be it about the littles, be it about the injection, be it about any different things, many of the different things that are happening. And so there is still present a group of people that are trying to confuse things. So they might say certain words that are a part of their rhetoric that make you think, oh, that sounds like someone that's part of the White Hats, or that sounds like someone that that is for the betterment of the whole. But truly, they're not. What they're doing is they're manipulating words, they're changing them around, or they're taking words and phrases that someone that you do know has been working for the betterment of all, and then they take them in. They might use those few words to kind of hook you in, and then they'll give an underlying message that causes you to go away from there saying, oh my gosh, I don't know about that. Maybe I should be worried about that. Maybe I should be concerned. And in doing so, their goal or their ammunition that they're using is trying to make people not trust themselves and trying to make people not listen to what's being said. So it becomes more and more important for everyone to realize in anything you read, no matter who it comes from, is does this statement, does this information, does this research, is it something that is showing me a way that the world is working towards something that's the betterment of the whole? And if the answer to that is yes, then take in what that person said and say, okay, I'm going to put that there in my toolbox. If it's someone that you've known, that you followed, that you think, you know, they've got great information, but suddenly they've said one thing or maybe two things, and go back and listen to it, go back and read it again, go back and look at that information and see for yourself, well, maybe this individual is no longer getting new and different information. Maybe that information is old and it's no longer pertinent, or it was what was the real information 4 or 5 years ago, but now it's not as updated information. So there are different things that can happen to people. And you've asked us in questions over the years, so-and-so doesn't seem to be as appropriate as they used to be. And the answer to that was, correct. That person is no longer doing that. They may have someone in their place. They may use CGI. They may use a hologram, but that person is no longer actually doing that those announcements. So that's one way of looking at that. In fact, there was one about the 3-Eye Atlas, and I'm just going to go ahead and read this now because it comes into the same thing. I follow Dr. Samuel Lee, who seems to have a high level information, but lately he's been saying the 3-Eye Atlas is coming to harvest souls and is not benevolent. Is he connecting to dark energies? So point in case, this is exactly what I'm talking about here. Here's someone that an individual has followed. They've gotten great information. That this person really resonates with him. Now, we will say we ourselves have not specifically looked at this individual before. We're not 100% sure who it is, but I'm going to take a minute and tap into it. I already have my perception, but let me tap into this individual and see if I get something. It feels, okay, so my perception is that there's something different about this individual. Like when we look at this individual, it's like we could see his energy going back, and there was some sort of either a disconnect, or there was some sort of something that it feels like there was a separation in his energy. Not 100% sure what that means, if it's that he decided to follow something different or look at something else. But to answer this question, is the 3-Eye Atlas coming here to harvest souls? The answer is 100% no. And is this individual tapping into something that is of the negative energy? He is either A, tapping into something that is of the negative energy, or B, whatever his source is feeding him wrong information, and maybe he didn't take the time to connect in. Maybe he didn't verify it for his own self. You know, we can't say because we're not there. We didn't hear it live or anything, but just kind of going along with what we're saying, this is why it becomes so very important for you to always, at the end of the day, you are the one that is making the choices for yourself. So don't depend on someone else. This is what you're moving away from. For so many years, you were told to believe this. You were told that this is the truth. You were told not to go looking for answers on your own, that everything that was kind of dictated to you. And so when we say do your own research, take your own time, listen within yourself, this is what I mean, because it is really, really important that people begin to listen to their intuition. Now then, that's kind of leading me into another question that I wanted to take this to the next level. I recently heard from Spirit so very clearly, you need to use emotions to communicate with the ETs. Is this true? And if it is, how do you use your emotions to perspective and what is attached to these emotions? So the interesting thing about that is that when this person received that message, use your emotions, I believe what she was really, the message that she was truly getting was use your consciousness. Many times people will talk about their emotions as if it's their consciousness. Because your mental body, your thoughts, your beliefs, your reality, that feels very grounded in the vast majority of people. But when you start talking about your emotions, that can be very abstract and that can link into things in many, many different ways. So the idea of using your emotions is that way of getting away from the solid reality of your everyday focus, your everyday reality, and instead open up to a pathway of communication that is taking you more directly in line with whether it's the ETs, your higher self, your own soul, even connecting and reading the energy of the other people around you. This is how it's all interconnected. But truly, it's your consciousness, because it's the consciousness of of humanity that is ascending, that is shifting, that is moving. That is the spiritual aspect of this ascension that is taking place. So it is through your consciousness, which may be interpreted for some as your emotions, that you will actually start receiving the communication. That being said, some people will feel it. Some people will see images. Some people will just hear things dropping into their unconsciousness. You can receive the information in many, many, many different ways. It does not have to come in only one way, because there are many different ways in which people will receive this information. So stepping back into the 3i Atlas once more, I do want to share that it's still somewhat connected to the sun, and you will continue to feel the effects of the 3i amplifying what is coming through the sun. Let me kind of change that. I'm going to back up a step. Look back to what the past year to multiple years has been like, and you've heard about having solar flares. You've heard about different light codes that are coming in. And some of those can be coming from the stars and the planets that are out in the universe, but a lot of them are coming in through your sun. Again, just for clarity, for those that might be hearing this for the first time, this is the sun of your universe and your galaxy, not the central sun that is out in the omniverse. But this sun that you have, there have been times in which it's got portals that open up within the sun. There are times in which some people call it holes in the sun. There are times when the sun itself is shifting around and is filled with different ways in which it impacts the earth. So all of that is interconnected. And as the 3i took its detour to go past the sun, not only was it receiving energy and it was resupplying all the energy ports of the Atlas itself, plus all of the other ships that are around it, but it was coordinating. There were things from the 3i that were going into the sun that were saying, here's the here's the next level, here's the upper level. There were things from the sun that were going into the atlas that was saying, here's what's been going on, this is what's been integrated. So there was a form of communication that went on between them, and what it was doing was it was rebalancing everything and activating that within the three eyes, so that as it comes in front of the earth plane, you will be getting that which is not only attuned with you for where you are right now, but also that which goes back to your heritage and that which goes back to the ancient times, so that each one of you can have activated within you that which is in your highest and best interest. So one of these questions that was here, oh no, not that one, was how is the three-eye atlas going to affect the higher dimensions? We have heard so much talk about it's going to come by and it's going to raise the vibration and raise the frequencies of everyone on earth. It may possibly have the impact of those that are just not ever going to open up, those that are going to stay asleep and no longer cooperate in any way, that they may be taken off the planet. That is a potential. That's not going to be this first run through. This is going to be a little bit more gentle. It's going to come through. It's going to make adjustments so that people will have the opportunity to begin to open up. And there's so many people. It makes me laugh when I look at humanity, because humanity is incredibly stubborn. People believe what they believe. They don't want to change their mind, and that's just their reality. And it's just my perception that so many are very stubborn. Now, this first flyby with the three eye is going to be loosening up, and in many, many cases, clearing out those old belief systems and clearing out a lot of the negativity that's still been floating around, in which case there will not be the negativity that the nefarious ones can feed off of and take and work with. So that it's like we're taking away one of their sources to be able to do their nefarious deeds. That's a big thing about what's happening with the three eye. But in addition to that, the higher vibrations that are already on the earth, they're going to now become amplified with even more. You can think of it like a balloon. You have everyone on earth vibrating, you know, just to give it a number, the high fourth into the fifth dimension. There are some that vibrate at the low fourth that are still at that bridge that came in from the third dimension. So those are going to absolutely be impacted. But then you have the higher dimensions. This we're talking sixth, seventh, eighth. No, seventh, eighth, and ninth. And they've always been here, but they've been like when you think of the pyramid, at the top of the pyramid, you have the less connection. And so those higher frequencies have been here, but they just have not been affecting anyone on the earth because nobody on the earth was in a frequency to be able to receive and have that knowledge. So as the three eye is going past the earth, in fact, it's already started, because once it connected with the sun, you know, you're receiving the sun's rays every single day. So it's already received those upgrades, like I just mentioned, and that is coming in. And then as the atlas comes in closer to the earth, that's when it's really going to be profound. And that is, I'm feeling pretty confident that the dates they've come up with, the 29th and 30th, are pretty accurate dates. And as with any time you have the solstice or the equinox, those days beforehand, those days afterwards, you're going to feel the intensity of that energy. So don't don't become attached to any one or two particular days, but be very aware that yes, indeed, at that time, there is going to be a lot of energy that's floating around. And that's when it's more important for you than any other time to really anchor yourselves, to spend time outside, to do whatever it is that resonates with you. The more that we're able to anchor and open up and solidify that fifth dimensional frequency, the more that will be then available for the seventh, eighth, and ninth to be able to activate. They've when the Lemurians begin coming to the surface more often, which it's still not even going to be this year, perhaps not next year, maybe next year they'll start making some, they're really going to amplify and solidify that seventh to ninth dimension. However, think of it as what do they call it? the outline for your book. You know, here's the outline. Here's the framework that is being set up that allows those higher dimensions to already begin to receive information, energy, frequency, to already begin to receive that coming in from the universe. And the more that it comes in and is activated from the universe, it's opening up Gaia, it's opening up Lady Gaia so that she too can begin to emanate those vibrations and anchor it and bring it down into Gaia. So super, super exciting times. I am very, very thrilled to be able to share all of that with you. And I like how they all kind of work together with like that, did it not? I'm going to jump into the questions now, and I will answer as many as I can. There were a lot, like maybe a page and a half, but we will do our best for just me. And so we shall see. I believe there was a reset in the late 1800s. After that, there were the Cabbage Patch Kids and the orphans due to the awakening of parents who were put in asylums. Is this true? Also, after this, were NPCs put in place after the reset, and they would have to repopulate, I would think. Okay, so let me look at this. There was a lot that was taking place at that time. When I'm looking at the late 1800s, and when I'm looking at what was happening, this person is talking about in the United States, but whatever happened in one country happened in all the countries, some more so than others. But when I'm looking at this, what is happening is that I guess what I'm trying to do is see if they had the same type of reset as what you're having right now, and they did not. There was something that took place because the nefarious ones became much more out in the open in the mid 1800s and coming into the 1900s. So yes, there was a big change that took place. Was it I mean, the type of timeline jumps that we see are huge shifts in consciousness. So the question was, did you have those huge shifts in consciousness, but going downward, like taking away the expanded consciousness? To a degree, yes, that was taking place. So yes, there was a type of timeline transition or change, but I just don't see it as the same type of thing as what you're having now. What you're having now is something that is not only integrated into the earth plane, but also out into the universe. And it is something that is connected through everything. What I see happening back then was more so about the earth and a couple of the planets. And it really raised a red flag for those that were the guardians of the earth. And that's when they began to say, we got to start something serious, because to come back in to how are we going to take back the earth, and how are we going to open up people's consciousness? So there was a drop in the energy that took place at that time. Now, there was a question, one of the questions on here that was talking about, were people put in insane asylums if they were free thinkers? Meaning if they didn't just go along with everything that was said, if they said that, no, that's not true, that's not real. Did they get put in asylums? Yes, indeed, that did happen in a number of different places. Was it something all over the entire planet? No, we don't think so. But it did happen in some places. The next thing that goes along with that, was it here or was it a different one? There was someone that was also asking about the Cabbage Patch. Oh, it was this one. So when you think about the Cabbage Patch at that time in history, that was when many were talking about test tubes, incubation, meaning children that were created without the traditional way, and that they were raised in incubators. And if someone is raised in this way, they do not have a soul. Was this the beginning of the NPCs? You could say so. Did this take place? Yes, it did take place to a certain degree, but not a huge amount. Not as many. They were not as successful as they wanted to be. There was also a massive flu that took place. There was a massive flu. Was it the Spanish flu that went through and killed a lot of people? So when they started talking about those that were on the orphan trains, or was that a different question? Anyway, I'm going to link them. So those that were put on the orphan trains that were sent out west and they were quote unquote orphans, how many of these were NPCs and how many of these were true children? There were a lot of children that had been in the big cities and they were placed on the orphan trains and sent out west. Yes, those were real children. There were NPCs that they thought were children that people didn't really know the difference. There would be a few handlers, if you want to call them, that were training them. And these are the ones that became like antisocial, and these were the ones that did not have a conscience because they did not have a soul. And did they reproduce themselves? No, I don't think an NPC can have children of their own. Can they have children of their own? Apparently some of them can, is the information I'm hearing, but not all of them can, because they're not true, authentic children or people like that are created where you literally merge souls and bring in a specific soul. They were able to there's always been time travel. And so some of them would go to that time, they'd come forward, they'd learn what they'd learned over the years, go back and start that. And then that changed history coming down so that when they got back here a second time around, it was different. So anyway, I feel like I'm rambling. I feel like I've gotten a little bit off course. Another way of looking at this is it was the first introduction and making public of using children, meaning there were many of them that did find wonderful, loving homes, and they were in a much better place. But there were many that were used as labor. There were many that were abused. There were many that did not have a good life in that way. Now, had they had a better life in the slums, maybe not. But what that said to society is, here are children to be used. Here are children to be that are just like something else that you would work in the farm, or you would work in the city, or because when you look at a lot of the factories, they had children working in the factory then. So it was a shift in consciousness that made children then a marketable commodity. Isn't that horrible to say? I mean, as I say it, it's just this nasty, gunky feeling. But we can see a direct link for that happening between the way everything has been coming out with the current day. So I think I just need to stop there, because that's what I think. I've heard a while ago that J.R.R. Tolkien actually found the book about the Lord of the Rings and the Middle Earth, and that actually represents Scotland. Is there any truth to this? And it goes on to talk about the thrones and the different places in Scotland. Is there a link to Tolkien and the Middle Earth? Yes, there is a link to that. When you go back there have always been multiple dimensions that are upon the earth. There have been ways to get inside the earth. There have been ways that are blocked. Some you cannot get there because it's a vibrational thing. But as I'm looking at this, what it represents, I do feel as if there was a portal in Scotland, and that's where a lot of that information came from. It does feel as if someone that lived in the Middle Earth, as they called it, did come out and did speak with, I guess, Tolkien or whoever wrote that book. And it feels like the majority of it is accurate, but there was some of it that was sensationalized or changed for dramatic effect, and especially as they made the movie. But yeah, that's my thought on that. When the Hawaii volcano erupts, I see lots of different energies in the smoke. Does Pele work with others, or does she release others? I also see a big red dragon in the smoke. are all of them working together with Pele. So for those that don't know, in the islands of Hawaii, Pele is the goddess of fire. And she is very much associated with the volcanoes and with the islands of Hawaii. And so that's what this is referencing. Is she connected to others, and what this individual saw in the eruption? There will be an eruption of a volcano. It's been erupting constantly. Whenever people think about an eruption of a volcano, they think of something that's shooting up miles into the sky and taking out everything for miles and miles around it. But there have been steady flows of eruptions. There's two main volcanoes in the islands. There are multiple different volcanoes in the islands, but there's one on the Big Island that's the one that is continuously erupting, and then there's one on Maui that is frequently the one that's associated with Pele, and that one has been dormant. The nefarious ones were actually working with it, and when they had the stuff that happened a couple of years ago in Maui, they were actually trying to activate it to get that to work. There were so many different things that came into play with that, but I believe that that's what this individual is talking about. Is there going to be a big eruption? There is going to be an eruption, but it doesn't feel like it's something that's going to wipe out the islands. It does not. It just does not feel that way. So going back to the goddess Pele, goddess, I don't know if it's a female. It's neutral to me. They are working with many different beings. You can go to any part of the world, and when you're looking at whoever it is that is the saint, the patron saint, as they called it, of that area, or the god or goddess of that area, if you're going back into the pagan times, they are frequently working with other individuals. There's frequently one that is shown as the predominant, but almost all of them have groups of other individuals that are working underneath them. So this individual that saw that image, I 100% agree that yes, she had accurate information. Now the dragon energy, anytime you have a volcano, you have dragon energies. And you have dragon energies in other places besides the volcanoes, but they are always around the volcanoes. And as we've said before, the dragon energy is really coming back, and it will become stronger and stronger in the years to come. I don't see this eruption. I don't see anything happening this calendar year, as you call it. It feels like it is a potential for down in the future. Now, the other thing to say about these different things that are happening around the world is some of them are adjusted or changed depending on how humanity is. The more that humanity is ascended, the more that humanity is experiencing things, then they don't necessarily have to have all the turmoil of an earthquake, a volcano, different things like that. So just keep that in mind, that you can have an impact on how things are affecting everything around you. I had two other questions about weather. Let me see if I can find that one. Okay, this one almost made me smile, but I think I know where they're coming from. Will the United States have a large earthquake and/or volcano that will split the country right down the middle? Just made me laugh. I mean, is that just too perfect to make people anxious? Oh, it's going to break the whole entire country and it's going to all just get messed up. No, the answer is no. Now, one thing they may be thinking about is Yellowstone National Park. There is an active volcano in Yellowstone, and it is a massive one. And if that erupted to the worst of its capabilities, it could potentially reach all the way across the United States. So perhaps that's an energy that individual was tapping into when they asked about it, or again, hearing something, and does it make you feel good? Does it make you feel scared? So I don't think there's anything like that's going to happen. I don't think there have been a lot of earthquakes that have been going on, and many of these earthquakes are happening because they were clearing out the dumbs underneath and just making changes that are helping to allow the ascension to take place, and also getting rid of things that were harmful to not only the children, but to other people that were enslaved. So there were a lot of earthquakes back around 2020, but most of them are resolving. There aren't as many as what there used to be. So this person had a second one. I'm hearing from multiple sources to be stocked up on food 3 months by the end of October. No. Those are two things that an individual tapped into. Now, that having 3 months of things 5 years ago, yeah, that was a pretty good potential. It certainly didn't hurt to have that on hand. But they've worked with the energies of the people on Earth. They've worked with the energies of the universe. And this transition is coming about in a much more peaceful way, so that the reason that you would need to have all that is because there was going to be massive disaster. You were not going to be able to have any food. You were not going to have the internet. You were not going to have lights, all of those negative things. And it didn't come to that. The world was able to create transitions in other ways that were more peaceful and more gradual, so that that was not going to be an outcome. So to this question, my answer is no. All right. A prophecy that major cities in Australia by the Evangelist Perez Nadi. Yes. The reason I'm laughing, I'm sorry, is that Shelley did look at that and she did not care for that individual at all. Again, personal opinion. That many of these major cities in Australia are going to be hit by devastating and destructive events. Can we look at that, and is that something that's going to happen? So talking to this person is very much an ego. This person is all about creating drama. And so like when we're looking at him and saying, is his information accurate, or what can we know about him? Some of his information is accurate, but his biggest impact is to get ratings, to get people to follow him. And how do you do that? You make big dramas, you make big gestures, so we just see a lot of ego around him, and we think he takes things and sometimes misconstrues them or twists them out of way. So are there going to be major disasters in different cities around Australia? We get no. We do not see that happening. There are, in all countries throughout the world, there are going to be floods, there's going to be earthquakes, there's going to be weather changes. So yes, that is going to happen. But I don't see anything big, massive, devastating that's going to just bring the whole country to a halt. I don't see anything like that happening. Don't forget, you've got all those Aborigines that are, boom, working there to create balance, to create peace, to create a turnover that is going to be easier for people rather than dramatic and harmful and frightening. Okay. What is dementia and Alzheimer's? Is it possible that this disease could be due to the vaccines? And can they be cured in the medbeds? So Alzheimer and dementia are two different things that are going on in the brain, and they are similar but different from one another, because someone may have one without the other. As I'm looking at this is something that is very common now, and it's due for many different reasons. Is it due to vaccines? That may have an impact, but that is not the only thing that is causing it. We remember hearing, is it due to the lack of fat, meaning everyone's cholesterol came so low, then you don't have fat in your system? That is having an impact on it. So people's diet, the other thing that's going on is some of these people that were, what's the word I want to use? I was talking earlier about how all of society had been into a place where they were controlled and manipulated. So frequently things like this are the older generation. So as this change has been coming on, and this has been coming on, as you know, for about 25 years or even longer, as this change has been coming on and this awakening that is going on, I see that some people just shut down. They didn't want to connect. They didn't want that energy around them. They didn't want to be influenced. And so they just shut down their energy. And this was one of the ways to shut down their energy. If they couldn't remember, they couldn't interact. I see that as a little thread of this puzzle. I feel as if, because there's always, dementia is something that's been around for hundreds and hundreds of years. Were some of them Alzheimer's, sorry, give me a second here. I dropped too much into Shelley. Dementia is the one that's been around for a very long time. And as people got older and they were not using their brain as much as they did before, as the natural form event, their arteries got more clogged and they didn't have the blood supply to the various parts of their brain. Frequently, that is what caused dementia. And it was also the inactivity is a big part of it. Alzheimer's is something that I see as more new, and I see it as associated to people's diet, to people's medications, to the vaccines. It's a modern way, and it too is about the circulation. It's about the lack of connecting inside. Can they be reversed in the med bed? There is a big potential that yes, they can. In particular, there's so many different things that keep coming out about med beds. And I think there was another question about the med beds. I don't know, maybe it's in Albayon's. But one of the big things to think about when it comes to the med beds is everyone's here on the planet for a reason. You have multiple different experiences that you want to have for the growth of your soul. And so, as we've said before, if someone isn't in that ascended plane, then they can get healed, but they'll go back to the way they were before. Maybe not as bad, but they'll go back to the way they were before. So if this individual is having the experience of Alzheimer or dementia, perhaps it's something for the interaction with their family. Perhaps it's something for they as their soul growth. There's so many different reasons why that can happen. And so they could have a session in a med bed. Maybe they get better for a while. Maybe they are not 100% better. Maybe they fluctuate back and forth. Many different reasons for how that can manifest. But we do see that in the future, there's not going to be a need, quote unquote, in society to have some of these illnesses and diseases such as dementia and Alzheimer's. And that is another way in which it'll be worked out of the system. There is also this just dropped in. This is also a reflection of the lack of community for older individuals. When you look back 100 years ago, when there weren't as many people on the planet and people lived in smaller groups, be it family units, be it small towns, then when someone got a little older, they were supported and loved and nurtured by the community around them. Now, with such a disconnect that is taking place, many of them are put away. They never see their family again. Maybe they don't even have any family. There can be different circumstances, but there is less of a respect of the elderly than what there used to be. And my sense is that is another little piece of the puzzle that Alzheimer's and dementia represents. So it's not just one thing or another. It's not just one blanket thing that's going to erase it. But you are going to see so many different things that will assist humanity, and especially in health when it comes to health and well-being. And that's as related to getting rid of a lot of these drugs, getting rid of a lot of these experiences that people have had that have actually pulled people apart instead of bringing them together. Okay, that is that. Okay. Will we who live in Norway soon see changes that will allow us to have a collective movement in the people who still believe that we live in the best country in the world, where the system is tightening its grip every day? Many are struggling, and they keep covering up the problems. Okay. We believe we looked at Norway, but it was kind of in conjunction with the Scandinavian countries last time. So let's look at Norway and ask what is happening to the land, what is happening to the government, and what is happening to the people here. They had their share of nefarious ones, just as any other big country did. It feels as if they were not as bad as many of the others. It's like there was a sense of disconnect, just not only because of the distance, but when you think back to the Vikings and when you think back to the cultures that lived there, they were always fiercely independent, and they didn't go along with the norm of what the rest of the world might be doing. And so that energy, or that belief, is still a part of the Norwegian people. It's a sense of independence. It's a sense of community. It's a sense of really knowing intrinsically who they are. When you think of the Nordics, part of the Pleiadians, as am I, many Pleiadian Nordics live in Norway. And, they're very close right there to Sweden. So there's a lot that move over to Sweden also. But for some reason, Norway, especially when you get way up towards the tip, there's a place that's been kind of dormant for the time being, but there's a change and a shift that is activating those places that were very high frequency, so that will once again come back in and support Norway. They will go through a change, just as the rest of the world is going through a change. These lockdowns, or the way that this person says that they're kind of encroaching on people, we do see that happening for maybe another 5 or 6 months, but at the solstice and at Christmas and at the New Year, that's when you're really going to see the manifestation of a lot of changes worldwide. Changes that include financial, changes that include movement of people, freedoms, all sorts of different things like that. So Norway is going to get back similar to what it was in the past, but it will always have an impact about this. And we have this strong sense of hearing people saying, yeah, it was so, yeah, everywhere you go, you hear the elders saying, oh, I lament the time, or, oh, I remember the time. And it's just not like that anymore. We feel that they will come out better and better served, because they will be able to say, look what we almost had, and we missed it, and we stayed strong, and we pulled together. We see that there's a big movement that is rising up inside of this country, that is saying, don't forget our roots, don't forget who we are, and remember, that we are of the earth, we are of the land, and it's just a very strong energy that we feel. So we think that these things that are going on are not going to be permanent, and it feels like there's a turnaround coming not too long. Can the ULBs please explain? Can the ULBs please explain the meaning of a chosen one? What is a chosen one? What is a chosen one? This has so many different meanings. When you look at the nefarious people, they think they were the chosen ones because they had a bloodline that they say goes all the way back to Adam and Eve, or whoever it is that they say it goes back to. And so therefore they were chosen to be part of that family lineage. So that could be a chosen one. And it was not so good to be one of those chosen one, was it? Especially as they have evolved into what they have the last 100 years or so. Well, they've always had their issues, but it just got really amplified. Another way of interpreting this is, are the chosen ones, we think wasn't this associated with Jesus? We think this might be also associated with Jesus. The chosen ones were those that were chosen to manifest love, to manifest the Christ light, to manifest the universal love, the universal energy, the universal frequency. And at a time when the density, the vibration of the earth was so deep and so heavy and so dense, to be chosen for that, it was a serious commitment. And sometimes they lost their families, sometimes they lost everything, because they did what they believed in. Bring that fast forward to this time-space reality. How many of you have had that same experience? How many of you felt as if you were chosen to be a part of this ascension process? How many of you felt like you were chosen to expose what's been going on that was hidden underneath? It cannot be 1 or 2 or 3 people people exposing things, it has to come from millions, if not billions of people in order to say, can you hear us now? Because so many people will just ignore it and they will just make excuses and they will not follow it. So to be a chosen one, it feels to me as if it's a community or an energy, and it's yeah, that's what I think is my best answer for that. Bringing it into you guys in the now moment. Anyone that has been on this pathway for any length of time, you made that choice. You chose yourself to be the one to walk that path. And but you did so because your soul said, don't forget you were going to do this in this lifetime. So it's got many different layers of energy and awareness. Phew. Okay. See, there were lots of questions today. Somehow Shelley must have cut off part of this question. Made a remark concerning EBS coming out in October or November. Can you please ask the ULBs if this is true? I think this one was also connected to all of the different monies around the planet, all of them being activated and their value increasing. Maybe Albayon would do this better. I don't know, because that's what he likes to talk about. But I feel that whether it's October, November, December, January, I don't know. And all of us don't know, or none of us know is the best way to say that. And the reason that we don't know is because there are hundreds of different factors that are coming into play. Every time you ask us about this, we say we are closer than we have ever been. It can happen tomorrow. 100% still believe that. So just be in the energy, be in the flow, be in the knowledge that this EBS can happen at any moment. And when it does, everything is already set up so that it will just like what's that word? Like water going down a hill, it will just go blub, 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 blub. And everything will happen very, very quickly. You have been so well prepared. The people working in the background are so well prepared and have done so much in order for this to be as smooth as possible. And that's what I see. All right, I'm going to bring my part to a close. Thank you as always. Ansaluia. Whew. Greetings, it is I, Albayon. I am coming to you from my ship right now. I spent some time orbiting with 3i Atlas with some of those ships that are around there. I think Brysentia's discussion of it at the very beginning was spot on. That's what I too have been seeing. I did not go close to the sun as some of them did, but instead I was interacting with some of those that are the smaller ships that are going not only in and out of your atmosphere, but in and out of your galaxy. The other planets that are around you have been really, really feeling the intensity of this. And this is what we anticipate is going to happen to you in the next 1 to 2 weeks. And by intensity, what I mean is for anyone that's not been dealing with stuff, meaning they've had things stuffed down inside of them, they haven't really been looking at their life and looking at the world, or they haven't been listening to any of these things, which you would think that, are they under a rock or what's causing that? They're really going to feel as if everything around them is incredibly intense. Like, I didn't get that promotion, where they might before be mad or angry about it. It will be like it's 10 times amplified. So think about that. If you're living your life, you're just living your everyday life, you're not really paying attention, just, you haven't heard about a spiritual growth, you haven't heard about a spiritual ascension, you just know there's a lot of chaos going on. Maybe there's a civil war, maybe there's not, maybe there's, all of these different things that they're hanging out in the background. Well, these are the individuals that are going to really feel some sort of a breakthrough. And by breakthrough, here's how I see it happening to many of them. And I'm hearing this from the other ship's captains as they speak about what's happened on other planets. And it's very interesting because you guys are humans. But they're showing us on others, you know, like say, for example, Lyra that has the animalistic bodies, and they still had the same emotional and mental changes that they had to go through. So when this happens, it feels as if it comes to almost what you call a breaking point, as if a huge number of society around the world just finally says, oh, I give up. What do I need to do? And how many times have you heard throughout history that it's only when someone really gives up on everything else that they finally open up and hear and accept that message or that awareness that I have to make a change in my life. I can't keep going on like I'm going on. Something has to give. And that's what so many, I feel literally millions, if not billions of people are going to have that same thing pretty much all at the same time. So then look at all of you that are here. It's like, oh yeah, I've been there, done that. Well, for you, it's going to be a big, huge breath in and a sigh of relief, because instead of all that intensity that's been bombarding you, it's now dispersed and it's going to be creating these changes in all these other people. And so you are going to feel as if there is a relief. Things are going to get easier for you. You're going to start sleeping better. You're going to start, it's almost as if a doorway opens and your intuition and everything just goes sky high. So be aware that when you're around other people, especially someone that may be kind of new to all of this, be gentle, be compassionate, and understand that the more that people hold that flow, hold that energy, that this is a quick transition, then the quicker that transition will be. Okay. The atlas, the closer it comes into the earth plane is these changes that I've mentioned. So there are still people that keep asking, are they going to harvest humanity? Did we say that one already? Did that come up? Are they here to take humanity? And again, I reiterate, no, they are not here to take humanity. My question is that I ask myself when I read something like that or hear something like that, I wonder if they're talking about taking humanity in that they're taking away the negativity and the narrow-mindedness and the shutdown energy so that people can then evolve into something more. Could that be what was intended? And because people didn't know to understand that, they interpreted it as they're going to take people. But think back to the 60s and 70s and 50s when they were literally taking people from the earth and experimenting on them and sending them back. Zero. There is zero of that is coming through with this ship, because you have ascended, because that's not the frequency of the earth plane that would allow something like that. So be aware that anything that is coming from this is in the highest and best interest of all. There was something that I remember reading through Shelley's brain that said, did the ship break apart, or is it split in two? Absolutely not. It is not broken apart. It is intact. It has been intact for millions and millions of years. There are times it goes into stasis. There's times when it's very active, as it is right now, but it does not break apart. What may change, or what may be a sense of separation, are the number of ships that are going in and off of it, meaning the ships like what I fly on. The other, and they're large ships that come from other civilizations, when they dock onto the 3I, which they do from time to time, not only to serve the people that are there, but also to get information. But also there may be groups that meet there as a means of collaborating to know what needs to be done, what's the next step, where are we going. There's the wonderful telepathy that everybody can hear, but when you actually have people together in a room communicating, what a difference that makes. That way you can talk about it immediately. There's no sign of what's the word, misunderstanding or misinterpretation, because if there is, then people talk about it and it gets cleared up. So the 3i has been used many, many, many times for something like that. So it is not splitting. There are not going to be two crafts that are going. And that brought up another question that I remember in Shelley's head, where someone said, I heard, don't get on the first one, get on the second one. And I remember Shelley saying, what the heck are they talking about? I don't think it's anything at all to do with the 3i Atlas. There are multiple different ships that are going to be coming into the atmosphere of the Earth. Yes, humanity will see ships up in the air. Is it going to be like they show coming in over New York as high as the top of the buildings and blocking out the sun? No, it's not going to be anything like that. It's going to be more so that as humanity is awakening and aware, there might be a ship that comes in that pulsates out the codes and the energy that causes people to open up. And some will see it because they're of a high vibration and they can see it. Others will say, I don't see a ship over there, because their vibration is not of a high enough frequency, but they're still going to get the message. They're still going to have that, that change that's coming into them. So these ships that you're going to see they're going to be in multiple places all around the world, and they're there to send that impulse directly into the people, into the land, and into there are various places around the world, like when you think about your pyramids, when you think about these different landmarks that have been so sacred over times. So they're going to be working with different levels in which to integrate the earth with the higher light frequency. So agree with Brysentia that the ship itself is currently finishing up with the sun, and then you'll start seeing more and more of these ships coming in and out of the earth plane. Is the peak going to be on the 29th and 30th? Yes, I don't know that I'd call it the peak, but those are going to be two very important days to really pay attention to your energy. I always laugh because we'll give you those dates and everyone will say, well, that was the same day as any other day. And that may very well be true that happens to you. But also be aware that what's coming in this higher vibrational frequency is healing energy. You constantly ask about the med beds. You constantly ask about, how can I heal? And as always, that healing begins within you. You can have a very effective healing of anything that may be going on with you by working energetically with the med beds, by going to the light healing places, by going to sound frequency. There's so many different ways in which you can already tap into these various healing techniques. So don't just sit around and wait for the med beds. Start that healing process for yourself at any given moment. So there was one that said, well, if you pay $300, you can jump into the line. Let me see. That feels like a scam to me, but let me see what they're talking about here. I believe they were it was someone in the U.S. When the medbed technology is rolled out and when it's in every community and people are using it consistently, it's absolutely going to be free for humanity, because that's the way it was intended. And right now we see it. In fact, I haven't looked at this for a few weeks now, and I see even more of them in the United States than what I saw before. But the big thing is I'm seeing them all over Europe. I'm seeing them in Asia. I'm seeing them in Australia. So in other words, I'm now seeing these med beds, not just isolated in a few places. I'm seeing them largely distributed all around the planet. And so certainly there may be some that try to get you to pay money. But I would hesitate. Sometimes people may be very, very, very ill. And so if someone is playing on your anxiety of being ill, then, and you go ahead and pay that fee, I feel as if it's a scam and it's not going to be you're still not going to get the treatment. Now then, if you go someplace and you see the actual med bed set up and you see people actually running it, and then they just say, yeah, we have a fee for it right now. Later it might be free, but right now it's a fee. Then, in that case, if you really felt like it was something you needed to do, I would say go for it. But do not blindly send money anywhere on the internet. Do not blindly believe anybody that says, if you pay, I'll tell you where to go, because that's a scam. Okay, so the med beds are going to be a lot more effective, and perhaps this is one of the reasons why they haven't shown up too much before. But after this transition takes place, which is going to be between the end of October and the winter solstice, the winter or summer solstice in December, then at that point, the energy and the frequency of the earth will be at a much better place that's much more stabilizing for all of humanity. And then when people start getting these treatments, they're going to be able to tolerate it and handle it much better, and it will be much more of a permanent response. So I have been very busy. There are many channelers that are coming out now, and some of them are truly excellent. Some of them are still tapping into a vibration that is not necessarily of the highest light. So always pay attention. And there are a lot of these channelers that are also leaning towards those that are just awakening. So for some of you, when you hear this, you think, oh my God, I was 10 years ago, 15 years ago. So that's okay. It's still setting up the foundation, and those that, as they, newly awaken, it may be something that resonates with them. The consciousness is just unbelievable. It's incredible what you will be able to do as humanity, not only for one another, but for yourself. And that intercommunication from that link into the consciousness is going to be very, very dramatic. So I'm very excited about that. Now, I know there's a lot of questions, and let's see what they say. Will President Trump's peace plan for Israel, Hamas, and Gazans be successful? I really want to take a minute to go deep into this, because as I look at it, it's like I see layer. I feel as if this is something that has been put forth multiple different times. I feel as if it is a hologram for a lot of people. So to connect in, I just feel as if I need to really take a minute and go deeper. So give me a second, because most anything, when I go to look at it, okay, here it is in front of me, and this time it is not. Okay. So when I look at this on the big scheme of things, yes, it's going to be effective. When I go beneath the layer and I see them, I still saw nasty energy on both sides. And so Hamas and the head of the snake, if you want to call it that, was within Israel. It was in the dumbs. It was underneath. And that was what was generating all these many years of the radicals all around the planet. And I still do not see that. So I still believe that was taken out. However, when you look beneath the surface, I still see that nastiness has not been removed. I see that as representing the head of Israel, meaning the N-word and net person. I feel like he has to be removed. And I feel it as the radicals. Their person is still in charge there. So what is it going to take to get rid of? Okay, it's an agreement. They purposely. Okay, so with what he brokered, it was purposely these layers that we're talking about. This was going to happen first, and then this was going to happen, and then this was going to happen. It's almost like they're giving them the opportunity to take care of their own nastiness, to get rid of it, and that has not happened yet. So I think there will still be outbreaks. I think there will still be things that happen. Will there be lasting peace? Yes, because anything other than that is going to be discordant. But this is what so much of these other things have been originating from, and that radical has got to be taken out. It's not something that will ever say, "Oh gosh, yeah, sure. Now I'm okay. Now I'm going to be nice to people." These two energies that we see here that generate all of that loosh, that generate all of those wars, that generate all of that crap, both have got to be taken out. And when they do, then peace is almost instantaneous. So it will happen. It is coming. Is there going to be a large loss of life? We get no. This feels like all of those that are involved in that know exactly who these people are. And it's almost like, yeah, well, that's exactly what it is. They've said, you have X amount of time, take care of this. If you don't, we will. And so it doesn't feel like someone declares war to take rid of it. It's more so like those that go under the dark of night will take it out and be done with it. So it will happen before the solstice. Within at least maybe 2 to 3 weeks, a very short period of time. This is not going to drag on. This is not going to be a long-lasting thing. Okay, was Charley Kirk's assassination a betrayal from inside the organization? Was his wife his handler? We always dislike that word because you always associate it with the nefarious ones, that they're the ones keeping them under their thumb. But let's clear this out. Let's clear out the energy, get rid of that previous question. And looking at Charley Kirk's death, I still say, I know there are many, many people that think he's alive, but I still say he is not alive. I do think he was assassinated. I do not think he was assassinated in the way that you are shown. I do think the people we just got done talking about were the ones that assassinated him. Okay. So I never remember what I say from one time to the other. So if I'm repeating myself, I apologize. It felt like he was killed maybe 48 hours before it was shown to everybody. And the people that were the white hats are the ones that they did make a choice of, what can we do with this information? How can we, it sounds so cold and calculated. And it was that to a certain degree. It may not have been a full 48 hours, but it was before that time frame. And it was decided, and we can hear Charley saying, yeah, I agreed to that. So it feels like he had conversations with one or two people before his death, when he knew these death threats were coming in, when he knew he was a very intuitive person. And we feel like he knew this was coming, and he had said to someone, do whatever you have to do that you get the most impact from my passing, because I'm going to be taken out. Okay. Whew. All right. So was his wife his handler? We get no. Were there dark hats within his organization? We get yes. And some of them they knew about, and they knew they were there, so they were watching them to get information about how they reacted, about how they were being, so that they would have that information. It's like, what do you call it? The enemy that you know about, keep them close so that you know what's going on. It feels like there may have been more than what they thought, but there were definitely some that were within. Okay. Is his wife a white hat? We get that she has done undercover things many times in the past. And we feel as if it was a true relationship. There is a true soul connection between them. And there's still something about her that just makes us wonder. So I don't have a clear answer for you, because we feel as if it's not to be spoken about as yet. We don't feel like she's truly a part of the nefarious ones. We 100% do not see that. But we do feel that she's going to play a very major role, and it's going to be very important. And it's unclear exactly how that's going to unfold. Because there's a lot of people that she kind of raises a red flag for them. And again, we just have this sense of being undercover. And so how that's going to play out in the future, I believe, is yet to be known. Okay, let's just move on. Regarding the No Kings rally, do they really have millions of people showing up at them? 118. No, they do not have millions of people showing up at them. They do have a lot of people in certain cities, but they are paid people to be there. You could look in multiple different places and you see the list of people that contributed to that. And it all goes back to the nefarious ones and the nefarious organizations and things like that. So the majority of the people that you saw were the nefarious ones. Does that mean that there were also some that truly believed in the rallies, that truly believed? Yes, there were absolutely some people that thought they were marching for the good and believed in what they were marching for, but it feels like a very tiny percentage, 1% of the population, maybe 10 to 15% of all of those people that you saw out there were true believers. All of the rest of that, 80 to 85%, were paid to be there. And it was all instigated. But those pictures that they showed on various places, many of them were AI generated. There were many pictures that were already proven to be false. And they just took the same pictures and it was like they showed that this is what was going on. So the No Kings rally was one of the last ditch efforts of them trying to get people to go against the government, because when you stop and you look at it, it was all about taking down the government. So I guess that leads us into the next question that's just generating in my consciousness is, how much longer is that Democrat Party going to be here? And let me take a second to say, because as soon as I said that, I could see, stop lumping me in with them. Well, there are many, many, many Democrats throughout the years that have had, a good heart. They've really been for what the Democrat Party used to represent. I still have a sense that at least half of them that are still considered part of it don't recognize what's going on. They don't think that it's like they haven't stopped to think, what are they really saying? What are they really doing? And so it feels like more of that blindness. We feel as if this party is going to be something that just really cracks open and really breaks apart, coming up with this energy of the Atlas. So, there are other parties that are going to come up in the future. The whole way of governing is going to be different in the future. And so we do have a sense that more and more people are recognizing exactly how negative this has all been. And when that happens, we do feel that a massive transformation will take place. It's very interesting that you have the United States that has it's based on a belief and on a plan that this is the Constitution, which is for the people and which is for independence and which is for free thinking. They didn't want to just go along and be the puppets of England. And yet this is exactly what the people that say no kings are trying to instill again. They want to go back to socialism. They want to go back to something where people are controlled and manipulated. So we found that name to be quite humorous when they came up with that. And we hoped that the majority of people would look at that and say, wait a second, that's the opposite of this party that's pushing them to do this. We don't think it's going to last too terribly much longer. Okay. How many Donald Trump lookalikes are there in the public eye, and who's controlling them, and which one is winning? That makes me laugh because I don't know what I'm hearing from that is that they think there's someone controlling and manipulating all of them, and that there's all these different puppets that are just put out for display, but there's one person in the background that's just pulling the strings and manipulating them all. That is not what is going on. There is only one DJT. And he is the authentic. He has never been replaced like so many of these other people have been replaced. Is there a body double? Yes. That is different than taking out the original and putting someone else in place of it. So the original DJT is there. He is working very hard. He works all the time, and he is in constant contact. Okay, I'm just going to ask, are there two? We get yes. Are there three? We get maybe. It feels as if there might be a third one that has been used on occasion, but honestly, it just feels like there's two, and they kind of alternate back and forth. There are certain situations when one is there, and then other situations when the other is there. But everything that's signed and everything that needs to be done is by the authentic DJT. What's happening to all the monies that are collected? Okay. What's happening to all the monies that are collected in tariffs in the U.S. By Trump? And when are the people going to benefit from the collection of these tariffs? So a great amount of the tariffs have been to pay back the debt. When you think about running, a company, and you have a company that's been running in the red for many, 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 many years, and they just keep spinning the wheels and making the money and still doing all of that negative stuff and not paying attention to the fact that they are massively in the red, they don't really know they don't really know anything else. So with DJT being a businessman, he knows you have to run the business in the black, not in the red. So he has been closing down departments. He has been not giving money to these nefarious means and way things were. Much of it was laundered. It was money that was actually laundered back into the pockets of those people that are screaming right now. So they've cut that off. They're closing down departments. They're getting rid of some of the people. And then in doing so, the tariffs and the money that's coming in is paying and funding for the programs that are here, that are functioning, that are supportive. So that's what the tariffs are here for. And yes, there will be money that goes out to all of the citizens, but they're trying to stabilize the country, and then you will get the money. There are, and most people don't stop to think about it as a business. They just think all this money's coming in. We've already been paying for the country to work. So, and we're still paying our taxes, and that's what's running the company. But most people don't recognize the enormity of how the country was running in the red. And so as you wipe that out, then as it gets closer and it gets better into a place of balance, then you will start seeing more and more money go back into the hands of the individuals. The income tax will be removed, and you will get refunds from that. whether you call it the Saint Germain money or you call it the money that was stolen, that was underneath the Vatican, all that, that money is still here, but it is being held and it is separate, and that is for the people. So what he's doing is using the tariffs to balance the government as a business so that it can then support and move forward and be a fully functioning government, much smaller, much more streamlined. But yes, people will get money that is owed to them, and they will get money that's going to come from these different situations. So another question that went along with the tariffs is someone had said something to Shelley recently, like, oh, that's only for a year or two, and then he's going to get rid of them. No, I don't see that happening. I believe that these are going to be a permanent way in which you earn money to support the country. Every country around the world does something similar. And this is just going to be the way that things work, that interaction back and forth in negotiation. So I don't see them going away anytime soon. Okay. What is the truth regarding the reason that the ballroom of the White House is being demolished and rebuilt? Some have suggested it has to do with the destruction of the tunnels underneath the White House that were used for nefarious activities. There was a great deal of destruction that took place as they took out these tunnels. Not only were they under the White House, they were under Congress, they were under all of Washington, D.C. was an interaction of tunnels that were used for nefarious reasons. Every country around the world has deep places for their government to go in times of emergencies. So there are some of that will still be going on. But what needed to be cleaned up is the very nastiness, and some of the things that took place down there needed to be cleaned out. This was some of the flooding that took place back in 2020 and 2021. This is some of the earthquakes that they had in this area. And but that's been cleaned out for a while now. That's what they took those 4 years to do when Biden was supposedly there. He was not there. So is the ballroom? It feels like, yes, there could have been some damage that was done, but it feels more so as if it just feels, we see a potential that the White House will be completely torn down at some point. We see a potential that the White House will become something that is used to represent all this negativity that's taken place. But it also feels as if they haven't done just kind of general maintenance, and they haven't done things to keep it updated, and they haven't done other things that needed to be done that you do when you maintain a home or a business or things. So we're getting that it's not directly due to that, but it's just kind of general maintenance. Is some of the problems because of cleaning out? Yes, there were some problems that came from that, but it's not due 100% for that reason. Phew. Okay. We're probably going to have to. I'm trying to bring it in to have shorter answers here. Once Macron is publicly removed from France as the president, who will step in as a position of leadership for the people? Is Marie Le Pen someone working with the White Hats Alliance and to restore France and Europe as a sovereign? So we're going to go with Marie Le Pen first and look at her. Yes, she is a White Hat. Yes, she is working very diligently with a lot of people. And we see that she's got a foundation of people around her that she works with on a continuous basis in order to bring about these changes, in order to help expose what's been going on, and in order to bring this down. We thought Macron had already been taken out. So if he has not been, then it can happen at any moment, because when I look at France and when I look at him, it feels like he's gone. He's been taken out for, what are those called? Treason and crimes against humanity and stuff like that. So I'm not getting a hard yes that Marie Le Pen is the one that will take his place, but I do get a soft yes. So that's just telling me that there's too many things that need to fall into place for anything to happen. And it could potentially be her, but it doesn't feel like it's 100% going to be her. It may be that they have multiple different people that they're working with, and they need to get to that place, and then they'll know which one to do. Okay. Let's see here. Oh, this is going back to the talking about the financial change, and and was saying that it should all be done by Christmas, and after Christmas there'll be a big change. Yes, I agree. I agree. Okay. Whew. Busy night, busy night. There's so much that is happening. So know that I am always working very diligently. I find that I'm working more and more with many of you that are living here on Earth. So if ever you wonder, what's Albayon up to, tap into my energies. I'm here for you. I am here in support of humanity. I'm here in support of all that is going on. And I'm here to remind you, this is a beautiful, beautiful time. So stay present in your thoughts. Remember to use your discernment and stay with those ideas, with those beliefs, with those things that are happening that bring community together, that look at the world through compassion and understanding that love is all there is. Hallelujah. Greetings. It is I, Crystallia. Woof, I'm the one coming in today at tiredness. Let's see. Hang on. Okay. So Shelley is very tired. She didn't realize it until we shifted energies. And then as I was coming in, it felt a little bit, not fractured, but me anchoring didn't feel like it was as present. But now I feel as if I'm here, I'm present, I'm chatting with you. So I don't have a lot of really different energies to speak about because my two pals here have spoken so eloquently about what is going on. I do want to share with you that this is it. You've asked, and this time is finally arriving. The energies are just filled with light. The energies of ascension are the energies of love. So they like to talk about these individual things that are going on with you or community things that are going on with you. What I would like to say is remember the community as a whole. Remember the community that works to love and support and honor one another. When you let yourself be in that vibration and that frequency, you will understand that your intuition just opens right up. When you are in this more light-filled energy, you may find that you're in constant communication, be it with your higher self, with the angels, with me, with the different beings that are here working with you. There are so many more than there ever was before. Number one, because the world needs as much of us as are here to support the planet in this ascension. But there are also many more of us available now because so many more people are already tapping into the energies and the frequencies of those of us that are coming in to be in support of this ascension. So let your energies open up that you may have conversations. You may literally have conversations when you're talking back and forth in your head. You may see an essence. You may be talking back and forth to that essence, or it may be all through an inner knowing. So be present, be open, and know that this is just going to get more and more and more. I see the turmoil as coming to an end. it's been rampant. It's just been so much. And you know me, coming from a place that does not comprehend that type of cruelty and horrible energy. So I can only tell you how thrilled I am that there is way less of it than there used to be before. And I'm so very pleased, and I'm so very happy to be able to share with you that love is that never-ending vibration and frequency that changes everything. Those that have stayed in the dark are going to be infused with light as this ship comes closer and closer into the earth plane. Things that people thought were hidden very deeply, it's going to have an earthquake. It's going to crack open. It's going to come to the surface. And what you're going to find is not all, but much of this stuff that's been so horrific for you to hear about is going to be exposed. It's going to be out there, and every single person will know about it, but it will be at such a vibration that you're not going to wallow in it. You're not going to regurgitate it over and over and over again, because that doesn't serve any good. So it will come out, but there may be some people that never hear about the most horrific, but enough people will know about it and will hear about it, and it will be enough that it will allow the transition to take place. It's happened already. So what you're doing now is really starting the foundation of the next phase of your life, of the next phase of the consciousness of the earth plane. And don't get caught up in the fact that, oh, every single person needs to know every single little detail. No, because all that's doing is you getting stuck in your mind. Stay open, stay big, stay expanded, stay in the flow of love and light and energy. Now, someone had asked me to do a meditation. I would love to, not right now, but Shelley will do one in the next day or so, and then it will be posted and sent out for you, because I love that idea that someone requested that of me, and that will be another way to bring us together in community, and whatever we put out into the ethers, it's there, and it allows it to trickle down into anybody, whether they're aware of this type of stuff or not, but someone just seeking peace or seeking love. Here it is, and it's in the ethers, and it's available for you. So you can look for that in the next couple of days. I'm working to raise the consciousness of mankind. How are we doing? Great. So this person is someone that she makes it a part of her everyday life. How can I serve mankind? How can I work with the collective consciousness? How can I help all of humanity be able to raise their consciousness so that they can be in that better place? It's working. It doesn't matter if you're one person, you're a part of a community. It doesn't matter if you know anybody else in that community, you're still a part of that community. And there are so many people that are now aware of this, that are now talking about it, and it's just going to become more and more and more as time goes by. I saw something on here. Have a beautiful night. So much love in my whole body. Oh, great. Great. Let's see. Never felt so deeply. Thank you so much for sharing those words. We know it comes from all three of us that have been talking with you this evening. And that's our intention, is that people understand you are getting downloads anytime we speak. You are receiving messages, whether you hear them with your ears or not. There is so much happening, and you're there. Most of you are out there. Yes, I'm open to receive. Yes, bring it on. Yes, I want to hear about it. And all of that is what makes it open for everybody. Beloved family, thank you so much for having us with you tonight on Saluia. Whew. Okay, that's Shelley. Oh, this is Shelley back. Oh, I love Crystallia. I love them all, but they all feel so distinctly different to me. But Crystallia is just the most beautiful energy to me. But again, they all are, and they all are unique in their own way. So I love this idea that someone reached out and said, can you give us a meditation? Great idea. And I will be working on it in the next day or two. I think I have some time. So I'll send it out in the email. I'll post it in wherever it is that you're watching. You know, those are my places that I usually post things. So thank you very much for being here this evening. It's long as always, but I truly appreciate you. Again, if you're new to this, I ask you to follow if you're interested, and I'm open to receive. Take care. Bye-bye.